All right, so today we're going to be working on a, I guess a data visualization. Um, yeah, data viz on the footpaths people take, the routes people take when walking through an area. We'll just call it footpaths. And so this data visualization is not going to be a poster or a website or anything like that. I'm going to actually try to build this as a physical object and as a physical object that moves over time. So it'll be 3D plus time, so kind of a 4D um, object or kind of an experience. I don't know if I'd call it an experience necessarily, but so essentially I'm going to take some space, a place, and for this I'm going to use an outdoor area. And so this is going to be a top-down view of where people are traveling. And so for this area, this particular space, there's a building here, there's a building here, and another one here, and then there's these little concrete structures that kind of come out something like this. There's other stuff around here, but I don't think it's so important. And so people come in and out of these buildings, and they walk through this park or this courtyard, and then they go to another building. So over time, a person will say exit this this building down here. There's a door here, and they'll exit. So here's some footsteps, and so they'll come through the sidewalk area, and then they will exit. And so what I want to do here is I want to visualize this over time, over the time it takes a person to move through that area, and visualize it through some material. So I'm thinking like fabric, something super stretchy, like probably spandex or elastic or something like that. So we're gonna have, so this is the top-down view, but we're gonna have some mechanism under this to see the footsteps go across the piece of fabric. So if we look at this from the side, I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work, but so from the side, this is the fabric. This is a piece of fabric here. And so there's going to be some thing that's, I guess it's got the two little feet. And then so if this is where the person, kind of sticking with the two arrows we had, somebody's going to enter here from the right, and then they're going to exit from the left. And so we're going to need several of these objects to push. Well, I don't know if they're going to push or if they're going to pull. Right now, they should probably, well, it's probably going to be easier for me to push right now. So this is a sketch. Then we'll build a prototype, and then probably build the actual thing. So if it's going to pull on the fabric, I'll have to have some way for the fabric and the puller, the object, to pull down on the fabric. So for first pass, I think it'll be easier to just push up on it. And so these have to move up and down. And so there's going to be some kind of, I guess, a cam system. So that's the side view. So another side view maybe from the front. I guess we can call it front side, or just call it the front, will be several. So we'll have, so there's going to be, okay, so back to the side. There's going to be a rod, a pole, some kind of tube that goes through all of these and then connects to a motor that's plugged into, like, I don't know, like maybe like a 9-volt battery or something like that. Whatever a battery looks like, I don't know. Maybe it won't be a 9-volt battery, I don't know. Or maybe it will be, and then we'll put like a potentiometer on it or something, because I want it to go slow, I think. Actually, I don't know how fast I want it to go. Well, that's probably part of the prototype. It probably could look kind of, yeah, actually, I have no idea. And then so there'll just need to be something over here to, on the opposite end, to kind of hold it up. So that's the side. So then the front, so then the cams will be down here, and they're going to slowly, oh, so the cams will be down here, actually, under these things. The cams are going to be under it, so that the motor is actually going to be attached to that. So let me go ahead and just get rid of this and back it up a little bit. So the things that push will be down here. Under them are going to be cams. This is going to be even taller. I don't want it to be too tall, though. I guess I don't know if I care about the height that much. So yeah, we'll have a rod that goes through here. And I'm drawing this on my iPad in Affinity Designer. But I'm holding it. I'm holding it with both hands, so it's not, this isn't very comfortable at the moment. Usually I set it on my desk, but I'm not in this case. So yeah, we'll have the motor be over here, which will then blah 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 connect to the 9-volt battery. 9 volts, and then some other thing to hold the other side of the rod. So that's going to spin. So that'll spin, and the cams will push up on it. So the cams, so if this is one of them, it'll be an oblong circle. And then they'll each be offset by some amount. I guess the amount will depend on how many feet, how many footsteps I have. So if I have, well, how many do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. That could be a good start. So each one will be offset by a little bit. And this isn't actually to like where they're going to go. They're going to all be on top of each other, essentially. So, you know, they'll all be like that. And there'll be another one there. And there'll be another one there. There'll be another one there. So then they'll all kind of go at different moments in time, which hopefully, I think, will make it look like something is actually moving across the top when nothing is actually moving across the top. These are just being pushed up in order, one after another. So what am I going to have to build? So let's just, I guess 7 is probably a good amount to start with. Well, probably 1 for testing. So if I had, so what are the pieces I need? I'll need a rod, and I'll need some way to, I believe it's called a follower. This piece right here, follower. So that can't just float. That's going to have to be attached to something. And then this is the cam. All right, so, and then the follower again will be right here. just above the fabric, and then as this comes up, the follower will slowly be pushed up into the fabric. And then as it continues on, it'll look like it's being, it'll slowly go down. So that follower needs to be held on by something, which I'm not entirely sure what that is. So I think the rod and the motor and the other side are fine. The cam, I believe, the cam will be glued or somehow attached to the rod. Probably glue, I imagine. So I'll maybe for the prototype get some cardboard or something. Get some cardboard and cut out 7 of those rods. Then, God, I don't know, maybe even just use a straw or something, or probably use a wooden dowel. Go to Home Depot, get a wooden dowel. Then it's already, I have this nice round thing that I don't have to try to figure out. I was going to use paper for that, but then if I use paper, I'm probably not going to be able to make it all that round or all that straight. It's going to get all funky. So put that on the list. Home Depot, get a dowel. Use some cardboard, or maybe even some, I have some like modeling materials here for architecture. Like super duper thin pieces of wood that I got from Joann Fabrics, basswood. 3/32 width. Pretty thin, super thin. It's maybe like the size of like 10 sheets of paper. You can cut it with an X-Acto knife or a box cutter. I actually used this for another project. A similar project where I was kind of starting to build little buildings. Probably can't see it like that, but from the top down, yeah, still kind of hard to see. That's a building. There's a floor plan in there. I started to print out all these random floor plans, and I don't know how well those will show up if I don't have anything white under them. But I printed out these floor plans on transparency, so I thought that would look pretty cool. For another project to build buildings, and then another data visualization where I would map people's paths as they move through a building. And so that's what this was for. So I have this, and it's pretty thick, so this will hold up. I'll probably use this. This will hold up way better than cardboard. So we're going to go with that. Get a wooden dowel. The follower and the 2 feet. Probably, I don't know what those are going to be. Those could probably be that same basswood too. I would think that will probably work. So I don't know, if we zoom it in, like down here. I don't know what these 2 things are. This almost kind of looks like a battery. So, oh, if I can see if I can draw this in like 3/4 view. I don't know. Should this be a square? I don't know if it matters. I've never really messed with this stuff too much. But there'll be some kind of, so it'll be a disc. Initially, it would be a disc. But it's going to be an oblong disc. That kind of protrudes out this way. Oh, I should use layers for this, really. I wasn't really planning on doing like a product design sketch with like perspective and everything. So this guy, I think it will probably be rather thick. So it's going to be a box. And I should really set my iPad down if I'm going to get into this and set up a couple layers in Affinity so I can actually realize this better. But yeah, what should the footsteps be? I want them to be thin. It should definitely be thin so that because feet are small, but if they're too thin, then they're going to poke through the fabric, and so that's going to ruin it. I mean, aside from just not working. It will also ruin the fabric. So they're going to have to be kind of thick. I'd probably just use little pieces of wood again. Just cut off tiny little, like whatever's left over. I can just use leftovers. Use some white glue to glue all this together. Just some Elmer's. So we'll get that going. Oh, I can't zoom. It's kind of annoying streaming. So I'm streaming my iPad, and on my iPad I can zoom in, but it doesn't look like Twitch picks that up with Affinity. And also it's kind of interesting that I can't see any of my UI in Twitch. I can only see the artboard, but whatever, that's fine. So anyways, so I'm gonna have that. That's the follower. That has to be held on though by something. So it's probably gonna have to go through. I wonder if the follower could be a circle. It could be if the follow, because then I could use a dowel for that too. If the follower was a circle, could just use a dowel, and then I would essentially need. So let's just say the follower was a circle. Well, but then how am I gonna get my footsteps? It'd have to be kind of a bigger circle, which is fine. So big, circle. That's not how it's gonna look though. It's gonna be a disc. Something like that. It's so hard because I'm just sitting here holding it. But, alright, so we'll come down. And down here. So then there will also be two little something or anothers that are there. And if I do it this way, then essentially what I would need is a piece of wood or some material that kind of goes across here and has a hole in it that it could move through. Oh, that eraser is way too big. That's alright though. So if I had a hole in it, then this would need some kind of, I don't know, is this the top? I kind of lost perspective there. But that's alright. I'll just put this down. We'll get all whack with this. Yes, it's kind of messed up. A little janky. So, it's totally lost the perspective. I'm using a frontal and 3/4. That's fine. So, that's going to move up and down. I could do it with the other one too, but then I'll have to cut square holes. So if I did it with this, that sounds like it would be kind of annoying to do. I think, I don't know. Not particularly interested in trying to make this like a woodworking project. Yeah, so if there was a hole in this one, yeah, that would have to be. I don't like the idea of doing that. It would have to be like a square hole. It's turned into like some kind of crazy Escher drawing at the moment, but that's fine. Alright. Yeah, I see what I did. So, I don't know, it would be something funky like that. So we're gonna go with this one. Circle one. Not square one. Because then this is going to have something that comes down. I believe something that holds it. And then the cam will be down here. Well, it's going to be resting on it, technically. So we should depict that somehow. So this is going to come out. Come down, around, technically. The follower is going to be right under the pivot point of that cam. So this should be here. This is where that rod is going through. And then this circle, this is a circle. And then it gets long as it goes out. Like that. Because then it'll come around and push up. Push up the follower. So how are we going to do that? I love how I have a frontal perspective. And with the square one, I have two other kinds of like 2-point perspectives. That's fine though. So, yeah, so I think there's just going to be some. So will each of these, oh, should they all be okay, yeah. So I could have some kind of, so the housing, I don't know, the followers housing, I should look it up. It's probably is on Google. Cam follower housing diagram. I'm sure there's a diagram. What is it called? The follower guide. Yeah, so something to guide the follower. Makes sense. So I could have the followers guide. Maybe that could, oh, it's called a camshaft, not a rod. That makes sense. Sure. I could have this. I could have the follower guide be kind of similar to the camshaft. And maybe I will up here have some housing thing that goes across all 7 of these. So I think from the side, from the top, yeah, so from the top, I'm gonna have, oh my gosh, let me set this down. From the top, there's gonna be these holes. That line up with the 7 followers. And so this will have some thickness. I don't think it needs to be that thick though, really. So just something like that. And then that will, oh, you know what? That'll actually be kind of nice. Because then this piece could come down even more. It could also hold the camshaft. So on either end of this whole contraption, oh, I wish I could. Yeah. Let me start a new layer, I think. So if we had this guy, we had this thing right here, and this is on a new layer. So if I had this and it went this way, yeah, that's what I want. So this is gonna come across. Something like that. And then I think it could come down pretty far. But be rather thin. So this has some thickness to it, so I need to kind of just account for that a little bit. This will be rather thin. This also pretty thin. This will be the holes. This is hilarious, holding the iPad and trying to draw at the same time. So that'll be the holes, and then it'll have another leg, like a long, more than like a, it could be a leg like a table, but I'm thinking it's just going to be kind of flat, kind of big and flat. I don't know what that looks like. Butchered it. Totally. So this will have the hole cut into it here and here, where the rod will go through. And connect to the motor. And there'll be some wires, and it'll connect to a battery or something. This is actually probably gonna work out pretty good. And then so the cams, let me just draw these in here so I know I'm not really forgetting anything. Boom. So those are the holes, and then so the follower is gonna go, I'm just gonna draw one of those maybe. That'll also be like a, I don't know, barrel or tube or whatever. How big should it be? I guess it doesn't actually have to be too big. I'll have the two little footsteps on it. Oh, it has to be as tall as needed. Oh, it always has to go through. It's always going to have to, yeah. The follower is always going to have to be like protruding through this guy. Otherwise, when it comes up, it will essentially just fall out. So it'll always have to be in the guide. So that will always come through the guide hole. Sweet. And then the little footsteps. I'll go ahead and erase that too, just so I can better understand and visualize how this thing is working. Yep, so that's going to come up through there. There's the footsteps. And then the cam is going to be like that, and it's going to go back into space. I wonder how big it will be, though. I don't really know. Well, this is always going to be resting on it. Let's just go ahead and draw the cam. So it kind of goes into there, and then we can see, we should be able to see this technically. Do something like that. And this will slowly come down. And yeah, this should always, will always be touching it somehow. Somewhere, not somehow. Oh, now we're getting pretty sloppy. That's alright though. So that's gonna be just like that, basically. I guess technically you should still be able to see this top. Like so. This is resting on the top. I guess this isn't really like an art piece here, so it's not like this needs to be perfect. But for me, I don't know. Ah, somehow I lost my color. Why isn't it black anymore? Alright, so this will come out. Oh, and that's where it disappears. It disappears on the bottom because we're not showing bottoms. So I totally botched that. Let's get this going back, and this on the top, and then it fades away on the bottom. Blah, blah, blah. Alright, good enough for now. So that goes in there. And then, yeah, as that thing turns, again, turning this way, or whatever way, it's going to push up. I think that will work. And then fabric across the top. So I think I need to build that. Got that. And this is kind of how it's gonna look. All right, so I think maybe next stream I build the thing. I prototype the thing with, I think all this can be like that chipboard wood. There's a lot of flat structures here. So the cam, the housing, or the guide, the cam guide, the follower guide is going to be wood, and then a couple dowels. So I just need to go to Home Depot, get some dowels so everything is circular. So I don't have to start cutting straight stuff. I can just drill holes. That'll be way easier. I think that'll work. Yeah, I think that's it for this stream. Next stream, I will probably set up my camera and not stream the computer, but actually stream assembling this thing. I got the motor in an Arduino kit. I got a battery. I got the wood. I basically have everything. So I can run to Home Depot, get the dowels, and then just start cutting stuff up. Sweet. See you guys later.